There is disarray over at the DNC, the Democratic National Committee. I think, I could be wrong, but my sources tell me they're considering San Salvador as the location for the Democratic National Convention in 2028. I think it would be fantastic. I don't think Abrego Garcia is eligible to run for president, but if he could, he'd have most of the votes. But right now, the DNC is contemplating bigger issues that are a little bit more close at home. You see, for some stupid reason, they elected this guy as their vice chair. David Hogg. They elected an internet troll, a Twitter troll, who wants to remove the Second Amendment from the Constitution and whose main claim to fame is to get a bunch of attention because his classmates died in a tragic school shooting. And he decided that it was Republicans' fault. That's David Hogg, and he's the vice chair of the DNC now. And also, if you salute like that, aren't you a Nazi? I could be wrong. All right, so this week, or early last week, David Hogg started a political action committee. Now, again, he's the vice chair of the Democrat National Committee. What's the job of the Democratic National Committee? The job of the Democratic National Committee is to raise money and organize to elect Democrats. David Hogg, early last week, set up a political action committee specifically designed to primary Democrats. These are Democrats that are currently in elected office. They are congressmen, they are senators, they are governors. But if David Hogg doesn't like them, if David Hogg thinks they're too old, if David Hogg doesn't think they're radical enough, he is raising money to get an opponent to challenge them in a primary so that David Hogg can pick who the Democrat nominee should be. As you can well imagine, this is not resting well with the elder statesmen of the Democratic Party. But listen, this is what you get when you choose David Hogg as your vice chair. James Carville, who has forgotten more about winning elections than David Hogg will ever know. Has David Hogg ever won anything other than his own race for vice chair? James Carville had much to say about young Mr. Hogg and his strategy.
Somebody sued David Hogg. He's an officer of the Democratic National Committee. He is the vice chairman of the Democratic National Committee, and he's running against other Democrats. I would like to know, and you went to law school, does he have a fiduciary duty toward Democrats? If you work for News Nation, you can't promote CNN. That's because you work for somebody else. You have a fiduciary duty to your employer, which anybody can understand. He's being paid to run against other Democrats. I think it's an outrage. I don't know if I have standing, but I might give the DNC $10 and sue him. He's a contemptible little twerp, if you ask me.
Sue his ass, Jim. I'll have you on the show to talk about it.
I might. I don't know if I have standing, but somebody can stand it.
sue his punk ass. Start it right on this show.
Thank you, Newsbusters, for the clip. Yeah, he's a contemptible little jerk. Or did he call him a prick? I'm not sure. Let's follow up, though, because David Hogg is doing a whole media blitz now, which I'm sure is being paid for and managed by the Democratic National Committee so that he can defend himself and his plan to defeat Democrats that he doesn't like as the vice chair of the party. So he went on Jake Tapper on Friday and responded to James Carville.
So here's James Carville. Here's what he had to say about your idea. Take a listen.
The most insane thing I ever heard is the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee is spending $20 million running against other Democrats. Are we supposed to run against Republicans?
What's your response?
What's his plan to deal with our 27% approval rating? That's my question to him. The fact of the matter is right now, our party is in a crisis. We are seeing people lose faith in our party. They're losing faith in democracy across the country. And we need to make sure that we're getting people to vote for Democrats, not simply because we're not Donald Trump, but because we have a better message, a better option for them, not simply the less bad of two options, as I think Carville tries to promote when he says, well, we just shouldn't say anything. Carville believes in a politics of being timid, of hiding. I believe in fighting. And that is what people want to see right now from the Democratic Party. And we just saw an example of that with Senator Van Hollen going to El Salvador to say, we need to meet with this man. And yes, Democrats obviously are in the minority right now. But let's be clear, we cannot win back the majority if we do not convince the American people that our party offers something that isn't just not Donald Trump, but is substantially better than Donald Trump, that fights to lower costs for Americans across the country, whether it's healthcare, housing, or the foundational building blocks of the American dream that feels so out of reach for people, or addressing gun violence. We can't simply just hide, as Carville repeatedly promotes, not to mention the fact that, frankly, he has not won an election since before I was born. I think it's time for some new voices in our party.
When were you born?
2000.
Well, I guess that. So anyway, I can hear James Carville's head exploding all the way from New Orleans when you called him timid. And James, you're welcome back on the show next week. And you
Happy to talk more.
And you can respond.
I do love that Tapper there admits that he's on a first name basis with Mr. Carville. Hey, James. Nauseating. So let me get this straight. David Hogg thinks that James Carville is the wrong person to lead the Democratic Party, which I know Carville's not interested in leading the party. He's just showing them what they're doing wrong. And he's pretty good at that. James Carville is not right. What the Democrats should focus on, how did he put that? Was, no, hold on. Let's just hear it again from his own way, because it's so precious. Let's hear it one more time.
To say, we need to meet with this man. And yes, Democrats obviously are in the minority right now. But let's be clear, we cannot win back the majority if we do not convince the American people that our party offers something that isn't just not Donald Trump, but is substantially better than Donald Trump.
All right, so one quick thing. They actually don't have anything other than they're not Donald Trump. That's literally all they've been running on for the last 10 years, is to oppose Donald Trump. Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump Nazi, Trump fascist, Trump. That's all they're still doing, right? So he actually has a point there. They do need to they have to come up with something that they're for. But listen when he articulates what the Democrats should be running on. Hey, everybody, I've got a great idea. This is what the Democrats should have as their platform going forward. Why didn't you guys think of this before? Here, listen to David Hogg's bright idea.
That fights to lower costs for Americans across the country, whether it's healthcare, housing, or the foundational building blocks of the American dream that feels so out of reach for people, or addressing gun violence. We can't.
Healthcare, housing, and gun violence. Those are all real new ideas for the Democrats. Wait, isn't that pretty much all they ever talk about for the last 50 years? You've got ideas for housing? Oh, that's true. You know what? Bring in an expert. How about Gavin Newsom? How many billions of dollars of tax dollars from California has he put toward fixing the housing problem? And he has the most homeless people, the criminal vagrants in the entire country. Oh, and yes, definitely double down on gun violence, because Democrats never talk enough about gun violence. I love that this guy goes out there and he's really good at raising money. And he likes to talk about how we've got new ideas, and every single one of his ideas is the same old Democrat idea from frickin' Walter Mondale. But you go, David. He wasn't done, by the way. This may be my favorite David Hogg clip. He went from CNN, went over to CBS News, and sat with Major Garrett. And this was a long interview, and I didn't want to repel you with it. But listen to this little nugget here.
For them, because we go out there as Democrats all the time and say democracy is the most important thing. We have to defend democracy. We fail to acknowledge that this generation, democracy is what put us through school shooter drills and school shootings. It's what's put us through the climate crisis and so much more.
All right. This is the vice chair of the Democratic Party, basically trashing democracy. At least we're not falling into the trap of the fight over whether we are a democracy or not. We are not. We're a constitutional republic that utilizes democratic process to choose our representatives. There is an element of democracy in our country. That's how we choose our representatives. But ultimately, we are a constitutional republic. But he's trashing the notion that Democrats constantly talk about how we have to defend democracy, because democracy has led to so many bad things. He's the vice chair of the Democrats, and he's trashing democracy. Listen to it again.
For them, because we go out there as Democrats all the time and say democracy is the most important thing. We have to defend democracy. We fail to acknowledge that this generation, democracy is what put us through school shooter drills and school shootings. It's what's put us through the climate crisis and so much more.
Democracy ain't everything it's cracked up to be, man. I'm the vice chair of the Democrats, and democracy got us school shootings. Democracy got us the climate crisis. Yeah, maybe we need to rethink this whole democracy thing. Now donate to the Democrats. It's amazing. I mean, again, I can't get enough of David Hogg. All right. This guy, though, he's the minority leader for the Democrats. He's not having a good day. Whoo, man, is that a lighting problem or what? Or is he just ill? Hakeem Jeffries appears to be seasick on the set of This Week. And he doesn't seem too thrilled with the idea that his own party is taking money from Democrat donors to run against his members when he's in the minority. So let me just understand. You may think, yeah, that's the way Republicans should do it too. Let me just explain something to you. If you've got members in the House of Representatives who are Democrats right now, and now they're going to face a primary challenge, it means they got to take money that they normally would have used in the general election, and they've got to use it to defend themselves against little David Hogg, which means they'll have less money in the general election. That's why that man looks like this right now. That's why he looks like he's got gas.
David Hogg, who I know you know, a vice chair of the Democratic National Committee, he's going to be joining us on the roundtable, and he is pursuing this effort to unseat some Democrats in safe seats through primary challenges. He's talked about a culture of seniority politics that is not working for the party. He said, quote, "We need a better Democratic Party and need to get rid of the Democrats in safe seats who do not understand what is at stake now, who are asleep at the wheel, not meeting the moment, and are a liability now into the future of our party." What's your response to this idea of targeting some of your Democratic incumbents?
Well, I look forward to standing behind every single Democratic incumbent, from the most progressive to the most centrist and all points in between. They're working hard in their communities, rising to the occasion. This past week, we had, of course, a Medicaid Matters Day of Action, a Safe Social Security Day of Action, and we have to continue to do all of the things: rallies, town hall meetings in Democratic districts, town hall meetings in Republican districts, days of action, telephone town hall meetings, site visits, press conferences. We are in a more is more environment, and more is going to continue to be required of all of us. Now, the House is the institution that is known to be, was built to be the closest to the American people. That's why we have elections every 2 years. Primaries are a fact of life. But here's the thing. I'm going to really focus on trying to defeat Republican incumbents so we can take back control of the House of Representatives and begin the process of ending this national nightmare that's being visited upon us by far-right extremism.
They hate David Hogg. They are so pissed off at David Hogg. You know, that would have been a great opportunity for Hakeem Jeffries to say something nice about him. Say, listen, he's new at this. He's got some energy and some exciting ideas. I'm willing to work with him and talk with him. I also want to protect my, he didn't do any of that. He didn't. Look at his face. How happy are you if you're Hakeem Jeffries? You're going to deal with the fact that you're in the minority, that you've got nothing against her. What do you say? Oh, we had a day of action to protect Medicare. No one cares. And now you got to look over to your left, and here comes David Hogg jumping in there, raising money. Understand something. Every single dollar that David Hogg raises for his PAC that's going to run against Democrats is a dollar that could have gone to Democrats to keep them in office. This is a beautiful thing to watch. And that's why that man looks like that right there. All right. So meanwhile, we wrap it up here with an extraordinary scene. Take a look at this panel. This is Donna Brazil over on the left side of your screen. The woman in white there. She used to be the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, right? All the way over on the other side is Reince Priebus. He used to be the chairman of the Republican National Committee. And then there's David Hogg in the middle. And so Jonathan Karl asked these two former chairs of their respective parties, and Donna Brazil has had no success, by the way. She was the chair of the Democratic National Committee when Hillary Clinton was running for president. We know how well that went. Reince Priebus, on the other hand, he actually saw quite a bit of success with the Republican Party, including the Trump win in 2016. So let's see what these two Washington, D.C. wise old men and women say about David Hogg while David Hogg's sitting there to his face.
They're losing trust in all of our institutions, the media, business, whole of civil society. We're in a crisis. I don't know if we want to call it a constitutional crisis, but we're in, as former President Biden was here, an inflection point. Look, I think what David is trying to do is to not just help to re-energize the party, but to help rebrand the Democratic Party. The concern that officers of the DNC right now, they have signed the neutrality pledge. David did not sign the neutrality pledge. So he's in hot water with Ken. I told him he threw a rock in the water, and him and the two of them and the officers, they got to get out of the hot water. But that's not my position right now. My position is many of these so-called safe blue seats, and I can get in trouble. Many of them are seats that women and minorities finally had an opportunity to come and sit in because there were no seats at the table for us. So before you start wiping clean the menu and the plates and the seats, be very careful because many of those seats are in
As a
districts where we
former
are.
party chairman, Durance, how would you handle a vice chair who was going to primary?
Well, I'll answer and then I'll explain it. I mean, unfortunately, David, I'd have you removed from the party.
What a great moment. How would you handle this, Rights? I'd have him removed. Although, to be honest, I mean, for David Hogg's purposes and the people who support him, that's probably a badge of honor that the former Republican National Committee chair would have him removed. It's just a beautiful thing to behold. They're absolutely imploding. They were so sure that Kamala Harris was going to win. They were so sure that Donald Trump wasn't even going to make it to Election Day. They were so sure that they were going to keep him off the ballot. They were so sure that they were going to be able to get him in jail. They've been sure of so many things. The one thing that David Hogg said is true, though. They have no idea what they stand for, and they're not offering the American people, or Democrats for that matter, any sort of vision about what they're for. All they've been about for the last 10 years is what they're against. They think that's enough. Hillary Clinton thought it was enough. Kamala Harris thought it was enough. Joe Biden thought it was enough, and it's not. You got to be for something in this country. And all they know how to do is be against Donald Trump. And David Hogg actually isn't all that different. He's just younger, has more energy, and can work social media well, which is great. It's not good for the Democrats, but it's great for us. The bottom line is they're falling apart. They're imploding, and the media doesn't want to talk about that, right? It's chaos over tariffs, or it's chaos at the Pentagon, or it's chaos in the White House, or it's chaos. Meanwhile, literally right in their living room, they've got chaos in their party, and they barely want to talk about it at all. I don't know how this is going to end. I can just tell you we're enjoying the show. Pop the popcorn. We're ready for the second half.